Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tiffany Craig, and we are sitting in a very quiet office at the moment with Andrea Guttin, who is an immigration attorney, and we're actually sitting in on a hotline that is offering advice about current immigration laws and about ways to help locate detained relatives, and it's a lot of stuff that you have probably seen in the news.
Back.
Hi.
Hey, so we're at this immigration rights hotline, and we're here with Andrea Guttin, who is an immigration lawyer. Can we just get to some things that maybe are misconceptions, or maybe people don't understand, or things that people have a lot of questions about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those, so it's kind of hard to be specific, but I think that generally one of the things that a lot of immigrants are calling about is generalized fear in communities. A lot of households are mixed status households, so somebody who may be undocumented and somebody who may have status such as the children, and afraid what rights people do and don't have. And under the Constitution, people do have certain rights, anyone inside the boundaries of the United States, regardless of their immigration status. And so we try and give them information about those rights, about what you don't have to do if someone is in front of your home asking to be let in. Just like anyone in the United States, you don't have to let a law enforcement official into your home if they don't have a warrant. And that warrant isn't properly executed by a judge, and it doesn't have your correct name and information on it. So we give that kind of information to individuals. We also let folks know that U.S. children have some rights, even if their parents don't have status. And we try and refer people to immigration attorneys that can help them with their status if they have questions about it, or if they are trying to adjust to become lawful permanent residents, or if they're trying to get citizenship, for instance. There's a lot of different categories of immigrants, right? There's a lot of different immigration statuses and a lot of procedural postures, and so people may not understand. They may think that someone is an illegal immigrant, but somebody who's undocumented today could tomorrow get some kind of immigration benefit, and it really just depends on an individual's case. And immigration law is very complicated, just about as complicated as tax law is, so it's pretty difficult to have an easy answer, right, to like those questions that are...
wants to know what you do if ICE shows up at your house.
So if ICE shows up at your house, like I said, you can ask them to slide a warrant under a door, or show it through the window, and it needs to have your name or the name of somebody who lives in that household, has to have the correct address, and it has to be signed by a judge. So that, and if all those things are true, then you do need to open the door and let them in and answer their questions. However, you have a right to remain silent. You don't have to disclose your immigration status. And in fact, disclosing immigration status is one of the things that the government has to prove if it's trying to deport someone. So by stating what country you come from, by stating what your immigration status is, you're actually proving part of the government's case, which is their burden to prove.
I'll be honest with you, some of that I did not know.
Yeah, I mean, something else people don't know is that immigration is a civil crime. I mean, a civil issue. It's not a criminal crime. So there are civil consequences, and among those are deportation. But someone who is in removal proceedings may have a way to stay lawfully in the United States.
I'm hanging onto this piece of paper because if we can keep this connection, I'll hold this up here. Will you read off the hotline number?
Yeah, it's 1-888-507-2970. And that is answered Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 by our attorney volunteers. They're not immigration volunteers, so we don't give consultations over the phone, but we do give general information and referrals to either private immigrations with the American Immigration Lawyers Association or with one of the Houston Immigration Legal Service collaborative partners. And those are organizations like the YMCA, Catholic Charities, Baker Ripley, Tahiri Justice Center. I mean, there's so many in Houston that are trying to help. And each one does like slightly different things. So maybe some focus on cases of individuals who have asylum, some may focus on helping people get citizenship. And there's a lot of ways for folks who want to get interested to plug in. Pro bono attorneys who want to take on cases, who want to help people obtain citizenship.
You launched this in February.
Yes,
Is that
at
right?
the end of February.
And what was the main purpose, the main goal, or the main sort of brainchild behind why you did it?
Really to answer questions that communities were having, various immigration communities, or immigrant communities, Latino communities, Arab communities, Asian Pacific Islander communities, and in response to kind of the spike in fear because of the various executive orders that came out, and a misunderstanding about what they mean and what's going on.
Sure, and just a lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion, right. So there were 3 executive orders. One is about interior enforcement, one is about border enforcement, and then there was the travel ban. So the travel ban is completely halted right now. But the other 2 are slowly being implemented. Some of them require international cooperation, some of them require congressional budget agreement in order to implement them, but some of them are being implemented right away. One of those, so they're very detailed, like within the immigration system. I can go on about them, but I don't know if people want to listen to like nerdy immigration attorney talk.
Nerdy, what do you mean nerdy? So part of the reason that we're doing this on Facebook, we know, and we're not going to sort of take some of the comments from the people who the kind of negative, kind of hating sort of comments. That's not what this is about. This hotline is trying to help people, all kinds of people, and so that's what we're going to focus on. But if there are questions related to immigration that you want to ask, we have a lawyer here, and she knows plenty about it, and so now's the time to ask and fire away. In the meantime, there are a couple of volunteers here who are answering calls as well. It's kind of quiet at the moment, which of course, as soon as we go live, that's what happens. Up until this minute, they were on the phone, and there was a lot kind of activity going on here. We're looking here.
So some questions that people have who are in the process of getting paperwork, I just saw something about that, is when it's happening and how long it can take. So it can take a long time, kind of depending on, again, how you are applying. But somebody who is applying for citizenship usually takes 6 to 8 months. Becoming a lawful permanent resident, if you've already applied for it, so the processing times can be about 2 years. But because there is a freeze on hiring federally right now, the officers who adjudicate these petitions, like if someone quits, they're not going to be replaced. And because there's also a spike in fear in terms of the safety of immigrants, more and more people who are eligible to become permanent residents or to become U.S. citizens are wanting to apply. So kind of an increase in applications combined with lack of hiring and even not replacing people who leave means that the application times are probably going to grow. The waiting times.
Sure.
But there are things people can do. They can call the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services hotline, and then they can make a request with the ombudsman. And if that fails, you can make an InfoPass request at your local USCIS office to make an appointment to go in and see what's holding up the case if it's like kind of past those general timelines.
Yeah, and I know there's a way that you can go in and kind of check the progress of your particular case.
It may or may not be that helpful because sometimes it'll just say petition received and there's not a lot of
and then you wait because I actually became a citizen a couple of months ago, and it was thank you, and it was a continual process of let me put in my A number and see what's happening, and you just sort of wait and cross your fingers that everything's going well and going as planned. Right.
And I saw another question about lawful permanent residents kind of getting picked up by ICE and being lost in the detention system. So I can talk a little bit about that. People don't usually know that lawful permanent residents can be deported. U.S. citizens cannot be, even if they're naturalized or if they're born in the United States. I would say unless they somehow lose their citizenship, which is very rare. But if you are a lawful permanent resident and are convicted of certain crimes, you might be deportable. And so you could be picked up and detained and placed in detention while your proceedings are pending. And the problem with the detention system is that there are facilities all over the country. In Houston, there are 3 area facilities, and individuals can be transferred anywhere in the country regardless of where they live, regardless of where their attorney is. And it makes it really difficult to fight their case. Even individuals who have strong cases can lose them because they don't have access to their paperwork, they don't have access to their attorneys. Some of these are in very rural areas. Sometimes making calls is difficult going to see someone can be difficult. They're not always touch visits, even though, again, these are civil offenses, not criminal offenses.
Yeah.
So the detention system is very complex, and it can be difficult to find where a loved one is located, but ICE does have a detainee locator online. If you just Google ICE detainee locator, you can search by case number, which is the A number, and a person's country of origin or some biographic facts, and try to locate them. I will suggest if someone has multiple names, you might have to try different combinations of names. So having the A number is the best way to locate someone in detention.
Yeah. One more time before we go, I'm going to throw this piece of paper up here, and if you'll read off the number again.
Sure.
The hotline, what is it, 9 to 5? What are the hours?
Yeah, it's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's staffed by volunteers, and the number is 1-888-507-2970. It's a collaborative project between the Houston Immigration Legal Services Collaborative, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, the ACLU of Texas, Vincent & Elkins Law Firm, and Tahirih Justice Center.
Is there any, do you also have anything online, any kind of chat online where people can go and get it, or is it all basically through this hotline?
We also have information at the Collaborative's website, which is houstonimmigration.org. Again, that's houstonimmigration.org, and we can there you can get information, resources, as well as referrals to nonprofit organizations. I saw a question about Dreamers. Do we have time?
Sure, we
about
do,
that? So right now, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, is still in place. People can apply and renew. However, we suggest, as do most of the national organizations working on this topic, suggest meeting with an attorney to discuss whether or not you should apply to renew. There are some concerns, given that the president during the campaign said that he would get rid of DACA, although he hasn't yet. He might still. So on kind of the least risk would be that you would potentially lose the money if DACA is taken away, and give your information that the government may choose to turn around and give to ICE and have people picked up if they admit to not having status. So that's one concern about initial applications. And then for renewals, if anyone has had any kind of criminal issues since they applied, they should absolutely definitely talk to an attorney.
Anything else you see in there that you can address?
They can go with
Okay.
civil law
We're back.
including
There was one
law
other
issues
question
and
that
issues
Andrea
there.
was going to address that came in on Facebook. Go ahead.
Yeah, so somebody wants to know what happens to children whose parents are picked up in the immigration system. And U.S. citizen children, unfortunately, don't have a right to remain with their parents. There is a remedy called cancellation of removal, and that is if individuals have been in the United States for over 10 years, can show good moral character, and there are like a U.S. citizen child or spouse which face extreme hardship. And extreme hardship does not include having a parent deported. So it really needs to be something more severe, such as like an illness where the parent who is the primary caregiver is threatened with deportation. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the way our system is. I will say that once a U.S. citizen child is over 21, they can petition for parents to be admitted to the United States.
Okay. Okay, so this hotline, for the near future, it will be around. This is something that you're doing all week long, week after week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so we're here, we're available. I will also say, just like kind of a note to folks who are looking for attorneys. They can call our hotline to get referrals. They can go online to houstonimmigration.org. But
houstonimmigration.org.
Right.
Houstonimmigration. Got it.
But there is also a lot of unauthorized practice of law. There are individuals who are public notaries, and in a lot of Latin American countries, notarios are attorneys. So basically, people will come up here, they'll say notario, people will think they're an attorney, they will hold themselves out as someone who knows immigration law, and will sometimes charge thousands of dollars to complete forms without really knowing what they're doing. And so they're basically committing fraud and can ruin a case. So it's really important to get the word out, not to go to public notaries, to make sure that you're going to an attorney or a Board of Immigration's a Board of Immigration Appeals accredited representative at a nonprofit organization.
Okay. All right, so Andrea, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Andrea was on a call when I first tried to go live, and she is so very patient. That's one of the things I noticed with everybody here. They're so very patient in hearing out whatever it is that the person's calling about, and they're very helpful. So if this is a service that you need, use it. That is why they're here. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we have access to any language too.
Oh, very
available.
good. Any language.
Yeah.
Any language?
Yeah, we have interpreters via phone that we can use. Yeah. Yep.